Hey y'all, welcome back to the old Two-Stroker YouTube channel. My name's Wayne and today we're working on junk. So, last you saw of us, we got the generator to make rated power under load. But it would only do it in manual voltage regulation mode. And so I got digging around in there as you saw at the end of that video and found a blown fuse on the automatic voltage regulator. So it's a week later, I got one of the fuses. I got some fuses here in stock finally. And we're gonna get this thing running and see if it will make any voltage with the AVR. So let's get out there, give it a rip. It's I don't know, something about this generator. Whenever I work on it here, it's raining, but you know, that's okay. It's like nice and warm out actually, so I'm pumped. Let's get going, see what the old girl's gonna do today. I'm gonna put you in the helmet cam. Oh, look at all the condensation everywhere. Gross. Let's see what we got here. So, I don't know if you guys can see this or not. I'll stay there? No. Here's where our fuse goes, is in here. Right there.
How about that little fella?
Oh, that little guy? I wouldn't worry about that little guy.
Fired right up. Sweet.
Time to do some sketchy shit.
Gauge is AZ5.
That's not gone well. Well, boys, been a couple days. That's not really how I intended to start this video. So we're a little bummed. There's like unlimited hours in this thing. I'm so thankful I put the camera on my head because I don't usually do that. When I do little tiny steps like that, I thought I was just replacing a fuse and, you know, gonna make power and just be happy, you know. I mean, it wasn't connected to the load bank, so I've gotten a ton of questions and a ton of responses from you guys. It wasn't connected to the load bank. I wasn't trying to pull load through it. I was under the impression you had to be, you would want to be running to swap from manual voltage regulation to automatic voltage regulation. I mean, I guess that's not the case. So anyway, what happened, as far as I can tell, let's get you in here and show you. If you watch the slow-mo in the clip, which I'm sure you've all seen by now, the moment I touch the switch, this gauge here, which is your AC volts, pegs, goes right past 300. No idea how much voltage it actually produced. And at the same time that pegs, the voltage regulator was back up in here, and you see, I'll put some clips in, you'll see a flash of light come from the voltage regulator. And then all hell breaks loose. So I suspect that the voltage regulator had something to do with it, but I can't find any evidence of that. The 300 volts, so all that shit comes into the terminal block down here, which is where the arc flash was, as you can tell. There is my problem. I could see it just by lifting up the edge of it, and there's no way I was going to try to run this thing. Oh God, it stinks. And have something in there shorted out and ruin the gen set. I don't know. I mean, it could already be ruined. I'm not real sure. Trying not to breathe too bad in here, but we're gonna go get the vacuum and see if we can't get her cleaned out. Good news is I don't really see any wire damage, which is what I was worried about.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Now I've disconnected some of the, I cut all the clips and shit, and I've been in here a little bit doing some investigation to try to find out where these wires go and what happened. So the voltage sense wires come in from, what's this wire here and this wire here, that's melty. They come in from the main breaker prior to the breaker, which is why the breaker didn't trip. And they go on, they run up to this junction block, which goes from there, where is it? This wire here that's melted off goes to the voltage regulator. Well, it goes to the switch that turns the voltage regulator from manual to auto. And then these wires are for the gauges. So those go directly to here. One is that red wire there, and one is the red wire here. And that is what, they're sense wires, so that's how you know, that's how the system knows and the gauge knows how much voltage the unit is producing. So anyway, what I have isolated here is the field. I disconnected the field and isolated it so that I could ohm it out. And that's got 44 ohms on it. And doesn't seem to be shorted to ground or anything like that. So I believe we're okay there. I have yet to determine this regulator down here is for charging the battery. This is for the 12 volt side that charges the battery. I believe it's for this thing. It's for this battery charger thing. It's AC DC converter, I believe, and is what actually charges the battery. Anyway, I'm not real sure. So you could see those wires are melted clean off, but I'm not sure what. I've isolated, taken my main and 1 and 2 lugs. These are the 2 hot lugs coming from the gen unit, and isolated them. What we need to do is isolate the ground yet, which is, this is a bonded generator, so the ground and the neutrals are tied together. And I was kind of hoping I could disconnect it back there because it's kind of easy to get to, but you can't. I already tried that. Where you have to disconnect it is in a super convenient location. Over here, I don't know if you could tell, there is barely enough room for me to get my hand in here for scale. But we need to get into that panel there. And you can see I've already got the bolts off and I've been in there just looking at wires. But we have yet to disconnect anything because it's absolutely hell to get to that. And if I thought it would be easier, I would pull the side off of the unit and do that, but that's near impossible. So, yeah, that insulation's all one piece. It's just, that's not a thing. We're not doing that. So now what I've got to do is get in here, and on the back of this, not this face, but the reverse side where that line comes down, there is a bolt sticking out, well, in, and that's where the neutrals, there's 2 neutrals, one off of each leg, and the ground is bonded. And so what I need to do is get in there and remove that bolt, and then and then isolate those neutrals, and then I can test the stator to see if it's any good. And that's where I think our failure is going to be. The field, when I say I tested the field, that is the rotor, and I believe that tests okay. 44 ohms doesn't sound off base. I mean, I don't have a manual for this, obviously, or we probably wouldn't have blown it up. But I don't, without specifications, you know, you can only go by what sounds normal. So that'll be next. That's what we're going to do next. It's going to be a ton of fun to just troubleshoot this, but we'll do our best. I'm going to need a bunch of jumper wires, and there's not really going to be a way to do it on camera, I don't think. I'll put you on my head and record anyway, but don't expect great footage because it's insanely difficult to keep this camera pointed in a direction where you guys can see exactly what I'm doing, especially when I'm working in such a confined location like this. So I'll do my best for you. I'm not making any guarantees. I would like to capture the reaction, whether it be positive or negative, either way, just so you guys know. I mean, I think you kind of have an idea, but I'm pretty vested in this thing. We've got 1 billion hours in it. You guys have watched the videos. You watch so many videos on it. So this is a major bummer. Just not sure. This is what the stator and the rotor looks like. The rotor is still connected to the crank. The engine does turn. The engine was unharmed as far as I could tell in the catastrophe. I had some guys like thinking we nuked a rod out of the side of the block and that's what the sparks were, but unfortunately it's not the case. And fortunately, I guess, because I've got really the most amount of time in that motor cleaning the cooling system. So I think that's enough of me rambling. I'm gonna get to work here, and kind of anxiety's killing me as far as not knowing whether or not this is the end of this video series or not. So I guess we'll see. Keep your fingers crossed for me, and just keep your fingers crossed. At least it doesn't say, caution, do not switch under load. Because that would have been a kick in the nuts. But I had to see what it said before we continued. Found it under the battery. Alright, fellas. Each one of these goes to one leg of the neutral, which is back there. You can see I am hooked up there. We're totally isolated electrically now, so in theory I should have nothing on the neutral to the ground, unless we have cooked something, which I'm hoping we didn't. So there's ground way back in here. That's what I'm gonna go to, chassis ground. 7.5 mega ohms. Alright. It's not dead shorted, so that's good. I'm not sure what these readings are supposed to be. Tricky trying to find a spot that's 6.8 mega ohms. Is that actually bonded to the cabinet though? Let's do this. Let's go right to here. Yeah, so about the same reading, 6.8. I really hope you guys can see that, 6.8 mega ohms. So what do we have? To leg 1, neutral. It's 3 ohms, which is... that is exactly the resistance that's in the cable. So that is the same winding or shorted. Had to be the same winding because this one shows 1.8 mega ohms, 1.9. So realistically, guys, this has to be megged. As long as I don't get any dead shorts, I'm willing to invest in that. But preliminarily, 2. Yeah, so that just keeps getting higher. That's not necessarily a bad thing. So... yeah, and that's the same way. So I flipped them around. So now it's the same way on that, and this should be dead short, if I understand this. Because that is that leg. Okay, now what we gotta do is take... this should be leg 1, and we should go to chassis, and it should be in the millions of ohms. Similar to the neutral. And it is. And that's 9 megs, so... oh! That's not good for equipment, fellas. Well, so... initial findings are good. I need to get a megger out here and get it megged. I should say, get someone with a megger out here and get it megged. And yeah, so I was noticing something while I was kind of doing all the testing. You know, you could kind of follow the numbers for check emergency start. I don't know where 5 is. You know, 5 and 6, they're missing. And hence why I didn't put a ton of faith in these numbers. And they don't match any of the instructions. But, you know, 7 is before 8 and 9. You know, so you think you would, you know, But I didn't think that would be catastrophic if you touched it while running. So I've relabeled it so that going forward, we won't have that problem. All right, well, we're back. Kind of saw what we could see in the gen set. Buddy Mark to the rescue yet again. He's got a Megger. So now what I need is some specs to try to figure out what that's supposed to ohm out at. Not real sure, so anyway, here's what we got. Right before the event, y'all watched me replace the fuse, and it's the correct size fuse, 1.5 amp slow blow, as requested by the actual unit. And so it I can't find anything wrong with this thing as far as looking at it. I don't see anywhere. You saw the arc in the slow-mo, but I can't tell anything in here that has let the magic smoke or the magic light out of itself. Everything looks to be okay. And it would have been in the unit. It was in the unit like this on the back wall. This facing the front of the panel. So the light we saw would have come from over here in this area. And I just don't see anything that lead me to condemn the thing. I mean, I don't think I'm going to reinstall it. Maybe this was just a bonehead maneuver on my part from just simply being ignorant of how these old gens work, and you're not supposed to change that while it's running. Maybe that's just all this was. I find that's wild to me, but you know, clearly I'm not exactly a generator expert, so I'm just I'm not real sure. But either way, I feel like I'm gonna have to sell a whole lot of t-shirts and hoodies to be able to save this thing if it's savable. So if you want, get your you know, hats, t-shirts, and hoodies at the website, old2stroker.com. Much appreciated to everybody that bought one. You know, that stuff goes a long way. Clearly, I'm pretty good at wasting money, so, you know, it helps. Anyway, also, while I got you guys, I wanted to give a huge shout out to my buddy Justin Ball. Justin races semi-truck in the Circle Track Series, and with a Series 60 Detroit, and does phenomenal with it. So if the name sounds familiar, that's where you know him from. He's one and the same. Absolutely awesome guy, and he spent hours with me on the phone last night after he had gotten out of work just to help me out of the kindness of his heart. And you know, that doesn't go unnoticed around here. I don't expect anything from anybody, and I absolutely love it when people go above and beyond for some idiot in the woods in New York. So, Justin, if you watch this garbage, dude, thank you very much. I can't express to you how helpful that was. Much appreciated, brother. Oh yeah, a lot of beers. So, let's get this thing friggin' megged. No, that's the camera. We're good. All right, so we're back on leg one to ground, right?
Yep.
We'll hold it for 10 seconds.
What volts you at?
500.
Cool. Yep.
$198. All right, I'll do leg two. $78. It's weird that they're different, Mark.
Yes, I was just going to say that.
All right, boys, so we have gone ahead and we removed the harness. It appears like it was added. This one of these wires went to ground and the other black wire went to one of the, what'd you call those things? CTs to sense amperage coming through the mains. And look at what I'm impressed with is how intact most of the other wires are. Smell it?
Yummy.
A quick whiff of ozone.
God, that smell is gonna give me PTSD now. Dude, the crazy part is it's like these two black wires didn't even get warm, dude. Yep. The only thing they've got is melted shmoo onto them. It's wild to me that they could be in the same harness as them other two wires and not be utterly destroyed. I mean, that was half the reason I took the harness out is because I figured it was
all one piece.
Yeah, I mean, you would have thought that it was. Dude, look at that. It's definitely not factory. They junction them wires again in the harness. Why? That's absolutely insane. And then, of course, there's no insulation here at all. It's all gone, Mark. It's all gone. Why? Why, when you hit that switch, did it do that? I have no cause for it. Like, no rhyme or reason as to why that... Look at the fuse. The fuse is fine. Oh, hey, guys. Didn't see you there. Let's have a little chat about what happened. Okay. So, had to take the hood off. Couldn't really talk to y'all with the hood on. So where do we stand and what's going on? What happened? Well, this switch, due to popular belief, is not switching between three-phase and single-phase operation. It doesn't switch you to the grid. It doesn't do anything like that. We renamed it the smoke switch, but what it actually does is it switches between automatic and manual voltage regulation. That's all that it's supposed to do. This is a 230 volt single phase 60 hertz genset. It runs at 1800 RPM. In the video, you will notice I come in and I hit this switch. And as soon as I do, before I can even comprehend what happened, the AC volts is normally 240. It went clean past 300. And then we had our failure. And what I believe happened was our lovely mouse piss ridden terminal block, I believe these N2 wires were the ones that melted to death right here. And they were hot phase wires, one from each hot leg coming off of that breaker there before the breaker. And what happened, I believe there was a bad connection from the mouse piss that I never cleaned. Yes, it's my fault. And I think I don't know if that connection either just got hot, because it did take a second before, from the time this went to 350 or whatever it went to before the explosion. I don't know if that got hot and then those two wires went shorted phase to phase, but that is what happened. It was a phase to phase short, I do believe. And all of our damage was contained within that junction block as it looks. Now you'll notice in the video, I'll zoom in, while it's dead arcing and there's flames and shit coming out of the cabinet, you get a look at the AC amp gauge and it's well past 200. So she was pulling all of the friggin' amps. At that time, you can hear the engine really lug down. And then all of a sudden, the sparks kind of die out and the engine starts to come back. And a lot of you guys were like, wow, good catch, that engine was gonna run away. It wasn't. What happened was the wire finally melted through, de-energized the field, which essentially turns the generator off. And so all the engine was doing, the load had pulled the engine down so far, all the engine was doing was trying to get back to rated RPM, which is 1800. The engine doesn't know any better. This generator, the electronic controls for the generator, this stuff, this cabinet, is totally independent of the mechanical safety shutdowns on the generator. There is no over voltage protection on this unit. There is no over amperage protection on this unit. There is nothing like that. This generator engine will run until it can no longer run. It does not care what's going on with the generator head. So we're going to look into something to do about that, because it's just a little sketchy. Anyway, you see the RPM come back up, and then, you know, I fiddle around. I unplug the battery because, you know what, guys? I'm not an expert. Split-second decision making. I grabbed the battery first because my brain registered it as, hey, this is an electrical problem. Just unplug the first electrical thing that you could find. And then as I'm grabbing the battery cable, my brain is like, hey, idiot, it's making its own power. And that's when I went for the shutdown knob. I didn't go for the shutdown knob to try to prevent a runaway or anything like that. I wanted the generator to stop making power. It hadn't clicked with me yet that the event was already over and it had stopped making power. I just wanted to get it shut off. So that's where my brain was at, and that's what happened. So let's talk about where we're going.
Where you going? Nowhere.
Right, so you know the voltage regulator is uninstalled from the unit. I took it out the other day, which you've seen on camera here earlier in the video. But I did order a new AVR, and we're going to totally update the unit and get a nice new electronic control one. I have some parts here. We got some wire in stock. We're going to rewire that cabinet, and we have a new junction block as well that we're going to use. And this one's pretty slick. You could tie the terminals together and whatnot. So we're gonna delete that entire junction block and rewire the cabinet. Now the plan is to utilize the current gauges, because as far as I can tell, there's nothing wrong with the gauges, as far as I know. And I really like the way that whole upper panel looks. So we're gonna try to reuse that. I would like to reuse the battery charger as well. I'm not sure if that's feasible yet. And part of my new AVR is you can wire in an external rheostat from 0 to 2000 ohms that will give you fine adjustment of your voltage when the AVR is in effect. Now, this had that also. So your big manual knob over here was your normal rheostat for manual control. When this switch was over here in the manual side, you would use this to control voltage, and that's what you saw me operate during the load test video. Now, when you're in automatic mode, when you're not on fire, you're supposed to be able to fine-tune your voltage through this knob here. And so I looked at this, I did check this and make sure it is not shorted. So it's not a matter of one of these components being failed. And I believe the problem was actually in the voltage regulator. I'm not sure why. I mean, maybe this could have been dirty. I'm not sure. I did test it after the fact, and it did show variable ohm resistance. Whether or not it was a little sticky at first, I honestly can't remember. But so there's no huge smoking gun here as far as, other than that junction block for a poor connection, that's my fault. I can't find anything wrong with that voltage regulator to say, okay, yeah, this malfunctioned. So I'm either going to replace this. Does that come over there? Oh, it's got a key in it. All right. Either going to try to replace this with a newer one and keep the knob and put it in this location, or something. It'd be kind of cool to use the big one. I gotta ohm this out and see how many ohms this is. Like I said, I need something between 0 and 2000 ohms. The AVR I ordered is a Marathon SE350, the recommendation of a buddy. What else? So the other thing we have to do, there's a couple wires coming off of this breaker still that are going to be a problem going forward. And the harness is still nice and tidy and neat, but it comes direct 110 power off of that side of the breaker over to our hour meter, no fuse. And that needs to be fused, as well as our 2 sense leads. We're going to reuse that breaker, nothing wrong with it. Our 2 sense wires, which are part of that melted harness in there, that's what actually melted. Those were not fused, obviously, and they need to be going forward. They should have been to begin with. I don't know what the deal was, but they absolutely need to be fused. The other thing that I would like to do is have some sort of large on-off switch to turn the AVR on and off. So if something like this does happen in the future, I want to be able to just, with the flip of a switch, be able to hit that, de-energize the field, and essentially turn the power making side of the unit off. I think that's probably smart. So if any of you guys know anything about any of that, please reach out to me in the comments. I know nothing about what I'm doing other than the fact that I've traced what happened. I know what went wrong. Now, I believe this over here is the AC-DC converter, and I believe this is what gives the, in fact, I'm positive that's what gives that is the actual battery charger, I believe. So I want to try to reuse that, and we will have to, oh, it's only 6 amps. Jeez. We'll have to look at this and see what we're going to do with it. We may just power it. That might just get hot current from the power plug on the side of the unit, not from this, because this has an alternator up on the engine to recharge the battery when the unit's running. So this isn't for when the unit's running. This is for standby operation. And that's how we're going to wire that again. That's how it was wired, I believe. It goes to this switch here and then goes down and under. But we're gonna iron out the details there. I'm not real sure what that is, what this unit here is. I don't have any clue. I have searched high and low on the internet for manuals for this thing, documentation for this unit. I could find nothing. I've contacted the manufacturer, Lakeshore Electric Company. They're still in business today. They were very nice people. Shout out to them. But they did not have documentation on this unit. I gave them the numbers that matter, which are over here. And they were unable to provide any documentation for this thing, which, you know, it's old. 71 is the deal here, so we're not exactly dealing with new age equipment. No big deal. We'll get it figured out. But everything's going to get changed around anyway. So, what we're going to end up doing is, there's only 2 wires, I believe. Oh no, there's a couple more coming off of the AC/DC converter. But there's only a couple wires coming back up in here. These are the field wires here. And we're going to disconnect the rest of this gen set here. The rest of this top panel from whatever's below. We'll mark the wires, and we're going to take this inside, and we're going to rewire it indoors so it's nice and warm. You're not out here frustrated working around confined spaces, etc. We'll do it the right way. So yeah, if anybody has any tips, advice, anybody knows anything, if you think I'm a total idiot and you have a better understanding of what happened here, let me know. You know, I'll be happy to hash that out with you in the comments.
Round 2, fight.
There's a lot of you guys out there that are a lot smarter than I am with this stuff. Like I said, I can make this motor run pretty damn good, apparently, but I am not a generator tech. Don't claim to be, never did. Like I said, any help you can provide, insanely grateful for that. 2 huge shout outs, my buddy Mark and my buddy Justin. You guys have been there. Mark's been there from day one with this thing. Super helpful guy, just an all-around great guy, and it's been a pleasure working with him, even though I'm probably doing more hindering than helping. Great dude. And Justin for spending all them hours on the phone with me. I appreciate it. Happy New Year, everybody. You know, we're gonna start the new year out starting over with the gen set, but at least we didn't ruin the paint. It didn't catch on fire. Life is good. The gen head's savable. And if you're looking, you want to know how to turn Onan green into Alpine green, you heat it to about 500-600 degrees and it becomes the right color. So maybe a quick shake and bake is in the future here for this paint. Anyway, that's where we're headed. I'll do a video on rewiring the cabinet when the AVR comes in. I had to order it. Blah, blah, blah. Supplier. You know the deal with that. So I think I've got most everything I need. I got to get a fuse panel that we're going to do some nice fuses in there and get that so it just looks better than it is. Anybody has any recommendations for parts I should buy for it? If you recommend an upgrade here or there, like I said, please let me know. I'm super open to updating this thing a little bit, making it a little bit more friendly. We're not doing an automatic transfer switch. This will be a manual unit only, just because of the way my electric out here is set up. I can't have an automatic transfer switch because of where the unit is. It's another story for another day. We're not going to get into that, but short of automatic transfer switch, I'd like to update the panel in the cabinet. Maybe I can get a Bluetooth gauge pack, or it'd have to be Wi-Fi to read over to the house and see what the output is so I can monitor that. Maybe a remote panel would be cool. I don't know, whatever. But we are going to rewire it. We will bring it back. It is not dead. I am super pumped about that. So maybe we'll call it a Christmas miracle. Long story short, safety squints and an old 2-stroker hoodie in a pinch, I guess, is proper PPE because I'm still here. So anyway, thanks for watching. I appreciate all the comments and everything on the last video. Hopefully this answers all your guys' questions. If you do have more questions, put them down in the comments. Thanks for watching. PPE is available on the website. By PPE, I mean old 2-stroker hoodies, t-shirts. We got regular ball caps. No hood, no what do you call it, beanies yet. We're working on those. Probably be summer before I get them in. That's par for the course. Anyway, Thank you to everybody that's ordered anything. I really appreciate you supporting the channel. Keeps me going. Thanks for watching, and I hope you guys have a happy new year. We'll see you in the next one.